Welcome to Between the Scene podcast. My name is Peter, and I'm joined by my buddy Aaron.
What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about a movie that I love a lot and I think has a huge impact and especially relates to what's going on today. It's going to be The Truman Show, directed by Peter Weir, a 1998 comedy thriller starring Jim Carrey. So let's just get right into it.
Let's get right into it. Alrighty, man. So, first impressions.
First impressions is that this movie, it's kind of unsettling. Although it's like comedy's the main thing, but it kind of has this creepiness, this quality of just like, I don't know, unease. It starts off, we follow Truman, which I guess like the name of Truman, the true man. He's supposed to be the regular guy, and he lives in this world completely created to be a TV show. His entire life, all his interactions, his work, his wife, everyone is acting. So it kind of has this
sinister feel.
Yeah, almost like you're going crazy. You don't know what's going on, like almost like schizophrenic. So although it's a comedy, it's got some kind of thriller, almost horror-like elements going on.
Yeah, definitely. It's it like gives you a sense of like almost communist China party. Like it there's no freedom, there's no free will. It's just like it's a scriptless movie set that the main actor has no idea he's in. So
and it's to the point where like every little thing, like things on TV and the news and the newspaper, it's all formulated to push Truman in certain directions. Like they don't want him to leave the Sea Haven, the town the fictional town where this TV show takes place. So they'll put like a poster with a airplane getting shot by lightning saying it could happen to you. And every little detail in this world is built to just manipulate the Truman.
Also, if you look around, there's so much product placement. Like this show is advertising so many things, like Kaiser's chicken or the lawnmower or that one Dyson all-in-one dice slice and grate as a knife.
Well, just like you were saying, how it kind of reminds you of like communist China or like communism. Kaiser chicken, I don't think that was an accident. Saying
really?
Kaiser, because that's like an old word for like a king or a ruler in like Germany.
Yeah.
So I think Kaiser chicken, the reason why they named it like that is because they're trying to allude to that. You know what I mean? Just
Sure. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I'm not even open-minded like you are. So yeah, this movie it's roughly an hour and like 47 minutes long, and right from the get-go you know what it's about. Like, you know, there's the dramatic irony where you know everything and Truman has no idea. So like it opens up with the director of the film, his name's Christoph. And he opens up talking about how Truman's life is a TV show, and pretty much his whole life is captured from birth to when he will eventually die is what they're hoping on. And Christoph just really kind of like sets out what the whole movie is going to be about pretty much. And what happens is Truman wakes up and realizes that this is fishy, something's going on. And
it starts off with a like a studio light. It looks like they're in a dome. The whole town of Sea Haven is within a dome, and there's water around it. So like ever since Truman was a kid, they tried to instill the fear of water in him to make sure that he would not want to leave.
And they did by
the part with his dad in the ocean. Yeah, and it's all horrific, and just other things, you know, like they had a flashback to when he was a kid, and every part of his life is filmed, from him being born to him having his first steps to him, you know, getting married to him sleeping. It's a 24/7 broadcast.
And
So
not only that, they specifically put people in his life at certain points. So
mhm.
like when he was about to fall in love at first sight with Sylvia, uh
Yeah.
Sylvia, yeah. When he was about to fall in love at first sight with Sylvia, a cheerleader falls over and hurts her ankle. I'm making air quotations with my fingers,
Mhm.
and she is placed into his life, becomes his wife, and uh, is one of the key players besides his best friend, who just constantly dictate how his life is going to be run
Yeah.
through the orders of Kristoff. So it's really, really sinister, and it kind of is scary because living in America, we are free, and it's a very great blessing. And I don't want to jump down a rabbit hole and get some of you to be angry,
Mhm.
but there's some sketchiness and
When I
some
watched it, yeah, when I watch it, there's a lot of similarities. At least I draw a
similarities.
lot of similarities between life, modern life in America and the Truman Show.
Yeah,
You know,
like
everything being a commercial. We kind of see that today, where everything is littered with advertisements, and his wife she holds up like the mocha and like the beer. Like his friend is like, oh, now that's a beer, and like camera shows the beer. You know what I mean?
yep.
Um, every little thing is an advertisement, especially now with social media and stuff. Everyone is trying to advertise. Everyone's trying to get like sponsorships. You can't escape it anymore.
Yeah, and also the fact that CCTV cameras are placed
Everywhere.
everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. You can't walk down anywhere without being on CCTV. So the similarity between feeling trapped on a film set that you have no idea you're on and real life, it's kind of not coincidental.
No, not at
Like,
all. No.
so, uh, like again, we're not trying to be these crazy conspiracy theorists at any means, but there's definitely some takebacks from this movie as if they're trying to warn us about something.
Oh yeah, yeah. Being trapped inside the dome and just having so many influences telling him not like every time he tries to leave, traffic gets in the way. The bus doesn't work. He has to drive through fire. Remember, he made his wife
Yep.
drive, and
Yep.
then there's like, oh, there's a leak at the chemical plant, and then he hears one of the policemen say like, "No problem, Truman,"
Yeah.
and he tries to run out.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think it pulls a lot out of what society was back then, and especially now. Like you said, it really almost like warned us.
Uh.
I don't know how much it was like foreseeing. It could have been just kind of commenting because it also comments on reality TV, and does
Yep.
reality TV go too far?
Yeah. Yep.
Because I don't know how many reality shows there were in 1998. I don't think there were a lot compared to right now when it's like if you turn on cable TV, which I don't really
Yeah.
watch anymore, but it's all reality TV. It's pretty much all what TV is anymore. And
Yeah.
this exploiting a person's life for entertainment. I think we see that more now than ever before, like with the Honey Boo Boo and the Kardashians and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not as far as the Truman Show, maybe, but it's still exploiting people's livelihoods and their problems and everything for the sake of entertainment.
Yeah.
And I think that show that's one of the best things that it predicted, if you can call it a prediction or a warning.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like a warning. Yeah. So let me ask you, when do you think Truman started, like his very first instinct that something's not right?
I think right at the beginning of the movie, when the light fell, I think
Yeah.
that was his
I.
first hint, and it wasn't like, okay, now I 100% this is a fake world that I'm living in, but it was his. I think through his whole life, it was all normal. He gets out and he greets his neighbor, and the dog tries to jump on him. It's like this. He's in this routine. It's this like manufactured, like stereotypical, like perfect American white picket fence type of
Yeah.
lifestyle, and he doesn't really
Yeah.
think anything of it. I think that light falling and him seeing that and just being so confused, like what is that? was the first hint of him having a sense that this is something isn't right.
To me, I'm gonna contradict you actually.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think the reason why I don't think that is the first instance where he's like something's not right
Yeah.
is because when he's driving to work and the radio's like a satellite part fell out from the sky, yada yada yada. He kind of was like, oh okay, yada yada. He kind of went on with his day. So I personally don't feel like that's the beginning. And my answer may not
Mm-hmm.
be right. My answer may not be right as well. But I think when he's on the beach reminiscing about his father, that when the rain only falls on him and
Yeah.
he walks, I think that's like the first time he's like, that was really really weird and unexplainable. No one like on the radio explained that. Like
Mm-hmm.
that to me, that's it. But I mean, in the movie, it's they try to make it clear that Truman finally realizes that this is not right when he's revolving through that revolving door.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a really good shot of like a camera right in front of his face, and he's just going through the door over and
Yeah.
over.
That's why I said it wasn't like that was the moment where he's like everything is not. But I think
Yeah, yeah,
that showed his first like it got his mind a little bit like, huh? You know what I mean? And then, like you
a
said, he
little
heard on the radio,
curious.
like, oh, we had a problem with satellites falling. So he's like, he probably pushed it to the back burner, like, well, that was weird, but okay, they said satellite.
Yeah, fair
But
enough. Fair enough.
I think that was his first hint. He started kind of looking a little bit closer. And then I love the part where it's almost like everything's spinning out of control, like he's going crazy. And
Yeah.
he's sitting in the car and his wife comes home. He's like, come here. And it's like, see, they're going around in loops. It's like you're about to see a woman with some flowers, a dog, and then a dented beetle. Or something like that.
And it's like the beetle takes forever to come, and he's like, "There it is."
Yeah. He's like, they just go round in circles, round and round and round.
Yeah, and his psychotic episode of him like actually like locking the door, locking her in, and just
But it
gunning it.
makes you
Like,
think, like, if you were in Truman's shoes, would you be acting just as crazy, or would you just try to accept
oh
it? Yeah, I
no,
definitely probably would be.
I'd be losing my mind. I'd be losing my mind. Um, it it really makes me wonder, like, am I being filmed right now? Like when I first watched the movie,
I did
I
too.
was
Yeah.
like, I was like putting myself in Truman's shoes, and
Hmm.
like I really was thinking, like, what if my life's just a movie, you know?
And I love the concept of like when he starts questioning things, like following his wife to work. Like, he thinks it's all. It's like they said one of the best quotes. I'm just gonna skip and bring this up. I
Yep.
think one of the best quotes in the movie is when Christoph's doing like an interview about the Truman Show, and they ask him. It's when it's obvious, Truman starts questioning things and he starts realizing that something isn't right. So they ask him, "Why do you think Truman never wondered about the nature of his reality until now?" And then Christoph says, "It's because we accept the nature of the reality we're presented with. We accept the
It's a,
nature of the reality we're
the
presented with."
the direct quote, I wrote it down, is, "We accept the reality of the world with which we are
Okay.
presented."
Yeah, sorry, I mixed
Yeah,
it up a
but
little bit,
no,
but
no, you're good. But that quote hits you. You're like, how much of our own lives are being presented before us to not mind control but persuade
hmm
our actions, our purchases, our livelihood. Like, people, let's take an example, iPhones. Everyone has an iPhone. It's kind of like at a point where like day-to-day things are being pushed from uh big companies, and they're literally changing the direction of human life on
yeah.
Earth with these new technologies, with these new policies, with these new changes, and all these things. It's really it's really something to think about. It's really just amazing stuff, you know. Um, like I the director, the actual director, Peter.
hmm
Like, I wonder. And to be honest, I don't know if this movie was written as a book or anything, or a novella or anything, but like if him and the screenwriters like really thought this through, they did a really good job. Like,
I think there was a
I
lot of thought put in this movie. It's definitely not a movie that's, I'm not going to say it's like extremely complicated. It's the most like complicated movie ever. I don't
yeah,
think so, but I think it is to the point where you would benefit from watching it multiple times. You really would.
definitely,
And that kind of shows a
definitely,
movie with some complexity. Like there's some movies that are better to be seen more than once. So you can, there's so much going on, and there is a lot packed into this movie. There's so much going on in the environment with how the actors are looking. I mean, there's so many subtle little things. Like for like right in the beginning of the movie when he has to do some real estate deal across the water in the island,
yeah.
and he goes and buys his ticket, and then the guy, if you look in the background when he's walking up the dock, instead of the
He's like
guy, the
watching.
ticket guy that just, yeah, he's like leaning his head right out. And there's so many other little things where like people in the background are just kind of watching him,
Yeah,
and it's not outright, but if you pay attention, there's all these little clues and details that you sometimes don't pick up on the first watch. It might take like the
yeah,
second, third, or maybe even the fourth watch to see most of what's going on. And then I've even watched it like up to five, 6 times, and I just watched it and
yeah,
I noticed things I never will notice before. So I think
yeah.
that says a
Like
lot.
you and me have watched this movie quite a few times, and it it brings up the point that this movie has grossed. Let me get the exact number. Worldwide, it's grossed 264,118,201 dollars. That's going by the U.S. dollar. So, guess how much the budget
How
was?
much?
$60 million. So a pretty, really large
Pretty big
budget.
profit margin right there.
Yeah, that's estimated, but um, like the amount of people who rewatch and
Hmm.
re-rent and repurchase this movie is it's a skyrocket. Like it really shows in the numbers. Like they've made
Hmm.
so much money off this movie, and for good reason. It's a really good movie. Like you said, it's not complex. It's not super hard to understand, but
There is still a
it
lot going
definitely
on.
and it has a really big impact on every person who watches it.
The last time I was watching it on my last viewing, I kind of was wondering this thought. Do you think they wrote the character of Truman before they chose Jim Carrey to play him? Because it kind of feels like Jim Carrey like fits that role perfectly, but I don't know if that could be like with every Jim Carrey role. It's like no one could really. He's such a unique actor that I don't know. It's like
Well,
no one else could do it
that's
like he
because
does it. Really?
that's because Jim Carrey is woke AF.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've seen some interviews and stuff. I know that Jim Carrey is, especially now, some people say he's going crazy, but I think if you really listen to him, he's pretty wise, although he might be a little
Well,
crazy.
a weird conspiracy I have about that is that maybe the Truman Show like kind of brainwashed him into think like he was actually like imagine this. Imagine he was being filmed on the Truman Show on the movie. No, that wouldn't make sense. I'll take that back. But it's currently 11 o'clock here,
Well,
so
no, he probably was aware of like some of the things that they were alluding to and some of the things they were trying to like, make a statement on. Like I think there's a lot of symbolism with Kristoff, and I don't know what's going on with him in the moon, but he's his where he has a studio where he's watching, or his director's booth, I guess you can call it. His whole director's center is inside of this moon that's going around inside of the dome. Like it has a day and night cycle that's artificial. Like you see at the end, he's like, "All right, like make it day." He just presses a button and the sun comes out. So it's just this artificial world, and he's inside of the moon, and he's kind of like this puppet master, like controlling the world. Like one of another one, like really really great scene is when he meets his dad. Not the first time, but again, like it was that day of his breakdown, and then his friend comes over. He's like, "Come on, let's drink a few brewskis," and then they're having that conversation, and he's like, "You know what? I didn't want to. I was saving this for today. Your dad's back." And like his dad comes walking down through the fog, and then Christoph's like, "Cue the fog, like easy on the fog," and he's like, mute, raise the level on the music, and he's like, creating all this drama. It's like he's just, I don't know, pulling all the strings of this world. It kind of represents like Big Brother, the government. I don't know. That's what the sense that I got from it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Um, I I always hated that scene because I feel like if I was Jim Carrey, uh if I was Truman, I would have so many questions for him that like he would eventually have to
Yeah.
break and tell me everything, you know. So that scene really doesn't like fit with me too well, but um
I sense that even though like he figures it out, like he's a little bit naive, but I guess I can't really blame the character because his whole life was this like manufactured thing. And
yeah.
like just like we mentioned before, you accept the reality which you're presented with. Um,
Yeah.
I guess like, but he does have this little naivety, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Um, like the rain you mentioned earlier, that seemed like really, really
Mhm.
obvious. I don't know if that was this point where like, hey, like what is going on? It's only raining on me. He didn't say it outright, but even
Uh-huh.
back in when it went did the flashback when he met he thought her name was Lauren and then it was Sylvia and it ended up being his love interest that he never forgot about in high school.
Yeah.
She tells him straight up, she's like, it's a show, Truman. The sand is fake. It's all for you. And like her dad shows up and takes her away.
Yeah.
And even then, even with that,
He still believes,
because I
yeah.
guess that wasn't enough. And I can kind of understand like what if you were just at the beach and someone's like, it's all fake, it's all for you, you'd be like, oh, that's weird, and it's, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh. And her dad was like, "She's schizophrenic, she's
Yeah.
mentally
She's
ill,
like, you're not
yada
the
yada
first one
yada."
she's
So,
done this to. He mentions
yeah.
that. But yeah, I mean, like, because the lie is so big, it's hard to undo. I think that's another point
Yeah.
it's trying to make. It's a hard lie to undo. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, everything, like, I like that it was like a process where he's like kind of questioning things and he starts looking at people different. Like when his friends
Yeah.
like stalking the snack machine, he's like looking back and he's like, they could be in on it. You don't know. They look like regular people. And he's just getting that sense of something isn't right, but it's a slow build up until he realizes like for sure something is wrong. I got to get out of here.
Dude, the most Jim Carrey acting in the whole movie was in that scene. And
Mhm.
he's like, "I think they look like anybody." He's like, like he does that clap thing where and he turns around really fast. I thought that was hilarious. Um did you know that Ed Harris, the guy who plays Kristoff, never and Jim Carrey never saw each other on set?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. For I don't know how many days it was shot for or like how long it took to shoot,
I mean, they
but
had no
they
scene
never.
together. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
kind of weird they
Yeah.
would never like see
Um
each other, but I guess I don't know. That's interesting.
yeah, yeah. The call times and all that for actors is very very intricate. Like it,
I
you
get, yeah,
know,
that makes
it's
sense.
all, yeah, it's all down to what is the most cost effective and all that. But I thought that was a little bit of fun
Right,
trivia
because
that
anytime
they've
they're on
never
set, if they're just hanging out, that's money that the producer, the studio is
the
paying.
studios.
Right.
Yeah, yep,
So I can understand maybe they have like tight schedules. Shoot your shots and then go home.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene again has to be that whole sequence of It's right after he follows his wife to the hospital, and then they have to quit because like it's interesting. I almost like maybe this is kind of like a far comparison, but I remember being a kid and playing like Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, and wondering, I'd be in a room, right, wondering what about the room I was just in? Like, are all those like the things in the video game like still there? Is the world? But it's like
Uh,
I think like in a video game, when you go to an area, it's almost like it gets created so they could save on
mm-hmm.
space. Like everything, it's just for you. Like you're in your little spot, and the rest of the world isn't
Yeah,
even loaded yet, and they have to load it in. So when he takes a trip when he goes off his regular route, they don't have everything together, and they're trying to like cobble together, just like get the area created, like get the hospital up and running like normal,
Yeah.
because normally he's going to be in somewhere else. But then after
Yeah.
that, like with this whole kind of going crazy, saying let's leave to Fiji right now, and then he's back home with his wife after that doesn't work, and the police have to tackle him when he like tries to run out when they're like the nuclear power plant is melting, and then he was like, "You're in on this too," with his wife, and the scene is like the
Yeah.
tension is building up, and then his friend comes in with a six pack, like, "Hey Truman, I got a six." Like I don't. It's just so I don't know. I like that scene the most for me. It's just so
Yeah.
perfect because
That
it shows
that
the manipulation of the world. It's like when everything's getting all frantic, they can just press the button and like, "All right, buddy, I got a six pack, and you want to like chill out," just to calm him
yeah.
down.
I
Oh,
I thought like the part where I felt like, almost goosebumps was when during that scene where he's interrogating his wife and it gets to a point where it's almost violent and she's like do something
yeah,
and like at that point I almost got goosebumps. I was like because Jim Carrey's acting in that was so
and
good,
he's like,
like it
"Who are
was
you
like
talking to?"
yeah it was so
Mm-hmm.
authentic, um it like it almost made me like wonder like at at Jim Carrey's level of sanity during that moment, do you think he would have been like violent
Like in
towards
real
her?
life or in the movie?
No, no, in the movie.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Like other than that point, it got a little close, but like it didn't show Truman being like violent or mean at all up until then. But I think it's just because he was freaking out so much that like it pushed him to that. I'd like to think no,
Yeah,
personally.
yeah, I I would like to too. My favorite scene in the whole movie was sorry, the flashbacks to him
Yeah,
growing up. The dance scene in where he's meeting or where he's like dating Meryl,
yeah,
yeah, Meryl. When he's dating Meryl, that dancing was just so well choreographed. Like the
and
dance
Jim
moves were
Carrey's dancing is
hilarious,
always
and
really good.
yeah, and like when I noticed it the last time I watched it was a couple
Mm-hmm.
hours ago. Um, when he's dancing and he notices Sylvia, you can see immediately his wife is on top of it. Like she knows that he's looking at Sylvia and is like she's not supposed to be here,
Yeah,
yada yada yada. Like you can see in her face. I thought that was really cool watching it the last time, noticing that. But yeah, I love that scene so much because the camera movements are just so fluid and it's just beautiful.
yeah, and I guess if I were to pick another one now that I'm thinking about it, on top of that scene, the ending scene is also really really good.
When he
When
hits
he
the
hits the
wall,
wall, and also up to that when he opens the door and he's talking to
yeah,
Kristoff. And I'll just make a note of this. Um, Sometimes I think that when I watch this movie, maybe I want to see what he did after he left. But I think it's better
hmm
that we didn't, and we just saw him leave. But it's implied. You see what's her name again? Sylvia running out. So
Sylvia,
it's
yeah,
kind of implied what's going to happen. But I think it's better left
yeah.
unseen.
Yeah, you know what's weird is I have this very, very vague memory of it must be a deleted scene somewhere because I had it's not super vague. It's actually really clear in my head. Um, like right after that scene, I remember watching this dude. I
Mm-hmm.
swear, like after that scene when he gets out, he walks out the door. I remember seeing a scene where he like walks through this dark
Yeah,
room and then the lights turn on like they're automatic lights and it's just like a whole long shot hallway of just lights and like bro I like when I rewatched it
you were
like
looking for
recently
it.
for the first time, yeah, for the first time in a long time I was like did they cut that out, like because that was a really like trippy scene
I wonder.
sequence. It
I'm
was
gonna look for that later and see if it's a deleted scene, or
it, or it might be in the extended
it could
version,
be a
I don't know,
Mandela
or
effect.
director's cut. Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess since we're down a rabbit hole such as the
Hmm.
Truman Show, let's talk about conspiracy theories.
So I think this is a conspiracy. Like, if you're a conspiracy theorist, this is a movie you have to watch. I'm serious. Like,
Absolutely, absolutely.
you will find a lot in this movie that's related to regular life, like regular society. If you're a conspiracy theorist, like it's got all the media manipulation, this fake world,
Yep.
everyone's lying, everyone's in on it too. It's got all of
Yeah.
that in it.
Yeah. Everyone.
Like I said earlier, I think that the directors, the people that kind of, if you're looking at it from that angle, it represents big government, the eye in the sky who's always watching, always kind of manipulating, pulling the strings, controlling the weather, everything. Um, yeah, this movie has a lot of symbolism and a lot of stuff
Yeah.
that alludes to that type of thing. What do you think?
Yeah. One thing that stuck out to me was a little hint towards flat Earth. When he reaches the edge of the
It's the
sea
end of
and
it.
he hits the wall, like it makes you wonder, like, was that kind of symbolic towards like flat Earth
And
theories
yeah,
and
for a
all
little
that? I thought,
little gift to the flat earthers, like this movie, he kind of is like a lot of people that believe in the flat earth think that we're in a dome. They say that it's called the firmament, where the stars and the sky, the sun and the moon, they go around like up and down a dome in the world, and that's what happens in Sea Haven in this movie in the world. And so there's an
yeah,
end to it, and it is kind of like the flat surface that he can't really escape.
yeah,
Everything, all the manipulation, the posters, it could happen to you. I think his friend, when he's thinking about going to Fiji, as soon as he kind of mentions it,
uh
he's like
huh,
on the phone because they can hear everything, like everything is controlled. His friend just comes over and shows a newspaper that's like Sea Haven rated best place to live, no reason to leave. Everything is trying to push him to not question his reality, stay where you are, don't
yeah,
go anywhere. And I think that
yeah,
a lot of conspiracy theorists also think that they don't want people looking too deep into things. Like there's so much manipulation to
yeah,
try to get you to stay where you are, don't think about it, be afraid. You're gonna get hurt. Why would you even want to leave? The plane's gonna crash.
yeah. And before any of you are like, I'm done watching this podcast, have you personally sailed to the
No,
edge of
you
the
if you're gonna
waters?
leave a comment harassing us, you need to go to Antarctica and take a picture and then send it to us and make sure before you leave any type of
Yep.
comment like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, is there like habitable land back there? This like going to Admiral Byrd stuff. We're just going down. We're just
Yeah.
going down rabbit holes. So, when you brought up Antarctica, I just immediately thought of Admiral Byrd, a pilot who flew over Antarctica and was like, "There's land here. There's habitable
Mm-hmm.
land here." He even said it on the news. Like stuff like that just makes you wonder how much of that is suppressed by the governments that don't want you to explore these areas or try to go
Right,
too
and they even
far.
have a
Like,
the Antarctic Treaty that was signed by like 40 countries, something like that. I don't know the exact number, but all these countries signed off, like the United Nations, basically saying that no one's allowed to go to Antarctica unless we give you permission. We tell you where you can go and what you can look at. That's the only way you can. You can't
yeah,
just be a regular person without government permission and go looking around Antarctica, apparently.
yeah, yeah. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's really weird. I read an article about Jeffrey Epstein, um, about after he died. Sorry if that offends you. I don't think he died. Um, his airplane, one of his airplanes flew from his island to Antarctica, dude.
Yeah, I heard that as well. I don't know. Really weird.
It's just
There's a lot of
it's just crazy stuff, man.
yeah. So if you want to, for wondering why we went to this from the Truman Show, I guess Antarctica could be like the end of Sea Haven. That's like the edge where he goes to the edge. But
Yeah,
I
sure,
don't know. Yeah, lots
sure.
of weird stuff going on in Antarctica. I heard that before Jeffrey Epstein's airplane even went there, Obama took a strange trip to Antarctica to do something.
Yeah,
I don't know. It seems like a bunch of world leaders were also hanging around there. right before.
There's a bunch of theories about like Adolf Hitler not dying. And again, we're not trying to offend anyone with these theories. They're just theories. They're just fun to explore.
Right.
Like Hitler went
You
to the
don't have to
Antarctic.
believe it to.
Go ahead.
We're not saying anything is true. We're just saying to think. Just as a brain
Yeah.
thought
Just
experiment.
just 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 be open to the possibilities of theories.
Right.
um what's another theory, like conspiracy theory, that like you get out of this movie?
Hmm. I mean, it's kind of like the things we mentioned with the media. I think that was a big part of it.
Yeah.
A huge part of it actually was talking about them with the show, and then the advertisements, and then the use of like media to manipulate how Truman thought. I thought was a big part of it.
Yeah.
Then there's the flat Earth thing with the dome. Um,
Yeah.
government
Well,
control. That was a big theme.
going back to that, government control. If any of you read the news, which I really strongly suggest
Hmm.
doing, um, Facebook was told by the government to suppress all of the like voter like posts and stuff about the 2016 election and the 2020 election, and Facebook openly admitted to that claim just like last week.
I did not know that.
Like last week of August. Yeah, no, it really
I can't say
scary
I'm
stuff.
surprised. I
And
just didn't know
the
it.
fact
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I I don't want to get political on this at all. I don't want to get political. We're gonna stick to theories, but I just think that this movie has so many similarities to modern day control
Hmm.
and suppression and all of this. So
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's got a lot of. I guess you could say like if you're like I said before, you're a conspiracy theorist, you could relate to this. It's got a lot of
uh
paranoia, especially like through the eyes of Truman. There's a lot of
yeah,
like once he starts picking up that it's not the world isn't as it seems. He starts being a little bit paranoid about what's going on and questioning the people around him, even his own wife and his mother and his friend. I think his friend was the hardest one, which isn't like his because like it went pretty far with it when Christoph was giving him lines word for word. He said, "If everyone is in on it, that would mean I'm in on it too." That
yeah,
was pretty powerful, and his voice was like struggling to get it
yeah,
out because you could tell he didn't want to lie, but he's an actor and it's his job, and he is acting.
yeah, yeah.
And then also going back to the what it could mean with like conspiracy theories, false flags. When people talk about false flags with like
Uh huh.
events going on just to manipulate the people and just to get people in a certain way, like really in this New Haven or Sea Haven, this world, they can make anything happen. They can make a power plant malfunction just to push Truman in a certain
Yeah,
direction, or a fire or anything. They're like they
yeah,
make these little
yeah,
mini
yeah,
false flags to manipulate Truman.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Man, the Truman Show. What a what a good movie, dude. I find it so entertaining to
Yeah,
watch over and over and over.
I mean,
It's
because
so
the
good.
movie is like it is really one of the tops. It's one of the top movies in my opinion ever. I kind of have a
Yeah,
I have trouble like putting lists together if I can make like a top five, top 10. It's kind of hard because it just depends on
yeah,
like how I'm feeling or certain day or whatever. But
yeah, yeah.
still
Sure.
one of the best movies in my opinion ever made. And I was just going to mention the music in this movie is actually really good. And I noticed that in my last time watching it. A lot of the piano and orchestral, and there's some like a lot of movies will have a soundtrack with like modern song and they'll just like get licensed songs. And I think there was like a couple like maybe
Yeah,
I don't know what the song was during that high school dance scene. Still really fitting, still worked. But most of it is not like lyrical or like copyright music. It's like orchestral soundtrack. with
Yeah.
dramatic piano and things like that. It's just really, really good. Really, especially the music
Yeah.
towards the end
It
during the part where he's on the boat.
he's talking to or
That
when
too,
he's
like
talking to
all through
Kristoff
that
especially
scene, you
like
know, like when he's leaving on the boat and they're looking for him, and the doom doom, like you know, the dramatic music, and then the music when the storm is coming, and you know his boat's about to flip over. It's all so good. It all
yeah.
fits really, really well.
Oh, dude, I want to bring up that actually the whole ethics in filmmaking. Like, so when Christoph, the director, is like, we need to do anything to stop him, like while he's on the boat. Like, and he sends waves, like storms and stuff, and tidal waves and stuff. Like, it kind of like brings up the point
Right.
of ethics in
Even the
film
people around him are like,
nowadays.
"Come on, like let's stop. Let's don't do this." One guy's like,
Yeah,
"What?" I don't know if it's the
yeah,
co-director, but another guy working there is like, "There's so the world is watching. Do you want him to die in front of a live audience, in front of the world?" And he says he was born in front of a live
yeah,
audience. That's what Christoph's response is. It was like, he's gonna die in front of a live audience. It's like, well, he was born in front of a live audience, so
yeah.
like it's almost
Well,
like he doesn't care.
I bring that up because I bring that up because so for example, there's a movie called Midnight Rider,
Mm-hmm.
and they're shooting, and one of the scenes they had to be on train tracks, but like because they weren't so ethically like well put together, um, they weren't ethical about it. They didn't even like what's it called like use abandoned train tracks. They used ones that were
Yeah.
still running, and a camera operator lost their life. And like
Oh, really?
he was like they were like this is unsafe. Like there's no real protocol to what
Mm-hmm.
could happen, and this lady got stuck on the tracks and didn't make it off in time. And like another example, let me think. Um, Another example is like that recent movie where the gun went off and the
Oh,
actress
yeah.
died,
With what's his name?
and she was a I can't remember. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm. I know
Let
what
me
you're
look
talking
it up
about, though. I
because
think
this is
everyone will know what you're
important.
talking about. Yeah. Same
Yeah.
with
Alec
what's it, Bruce
Baldwin, dude. Oh,
Alec
dude, I
Baldwin. Yeah.
can't. Alec Baldwin on the movie Rust. Yeah.
The same thing happened with Bruce Lee's son. Those confused me because yeah, it was the same thing where like they were on set and a gun was real and it shot him and killed him. It killed Bruce Lee's son back in the
Yeah,
day.
like
I didn't even know they used real guns in movies. I thought they were fake guns. I didn't realize they were even
that's
real.
it's just it's
It's almost
so
like a very
unethical.
strange.
It
Like, how
makes
does that even
no
happen? Sorry, what'd you say?
like no, you're good. It's just like how stupid do you have to be to even put the risk in there? The amount of risk it going off, who
Well,
knows?
is that
Like
common in
and
Hollywood to put real bullets and real guns and use them on set?
no, they say that they clear the chambers and uh take out the magazines. They don't use magazines, but they could have a bullet in the chamber that they overlooked, you know.
So it's blanks on real
Like
guns.
dude, fake guns. That's what they do most of the time.
I thought they would just
That's what
use
they
fake
try to
guns, like
do,
a
but
toy gun painted black and add in the effect, and no one would really.
dude, now nowadays fake guns look so realistic, dude.
Right.
Like even as a kid, my mom would yell at me for playing with like airsoft
Mm-hmm.
guns around the neighborhood. She's like they looked so real. Like you might as well just get a fake gun on
Yeah, that's what
movies.
confused me
Like
about everything related to
when
that.
I was on was when I was in when I was in film school, if we wanted to use a gun prop or like a real gun in
Mm-hmm.
a film, we had to have a marshal. We had to have a marshal
Oh,
with
really?
us. Like, and everyone on set had to be trained on it. Like, there was a lot of there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
protocol for it. So I don't know. I just thought that scene in the movie brings up the ethics in
Mm-hmm.
filmmaking. I just I, I
Yeah,
just
it
found it
definitely
interesting.
does.
But
And television, like how far television is going to go, I think
yeah,
it brings that up as well.
yeah, like
With
yeah,
reality
yeah,
shows and reality shows out of control, just exploiting people to the maximum. It's you're
yeah,
really seeing it
yeah,
today
yeah.
too.
hmm It's because people's attention spans
Mm-hmm.
are getting shorter, and they want more and more and more dopamine rushes, and it's getting out of hand. But let's get back to the Truman Show and talk
Sure.
about that just a little bit, and close up from there. If there was one thing you would change about the movie, what would it be?
That's a good question. Even though I said I do like how it ends, and this it could be for the better. I'd be interested to see a little bit of what happens after Truman leaves. Like, can he go back to normal life? Like, I was even wondering when I last watched it, like,
Uh,
could there be a Truman Show too? Could they make a sequel to it? Because it just has me wondering every time I watch it, like, what did Truman do when he walked out of that door? When he, because in the movie he just
yeah,
disappears into the black. I know you
that's
said you saw a version where he went into a hallway, and I'm gonna try to find that
dude.
later. But
I, I swear,
if I could
dude.
change one thing, yeah, I think I would make. I don't know if I would change it like that. It's hard to say, but I would want to see that. You know, I would want to see what
Sure,
happens.
dude. Going on your point about if they made a second Truman Show, like here's how I could see it. They name another baby Truman and film his life just as they did with Jim
Mm-hmm.
Carrey as Truman, and uh the whole plot of this movie would be Jim Carrey's Truman trying to sabotage the TV
That
show
could
and
be
like
good.
get this
That's
kid
actually a good idea. I think
that
that's
would
a
be
good way
good,
to do
right?
it.
Like that'd be cool. Yeah, let me just call up
Because
Jim
I don't know
Carrey
what they
real
would do.
quick.
Like once he's out, they can't like make a Truman Show where he's not on the Truman Show and just like normal Truman. So yeah,
Yeah,
there'd have to be like a new
yeah.
Truman or a new show.
Who is your favorite character
Besides Truman,
besides Truman? Yeah.
hmm, his I forgot his name. His friend though, his friend in the movie,
Um,
Marlin.
Marlin.
He's my favorite character. I like how he's used. I really do. I
Yeah.
like how he's like because you could even tell it right from the beginning. Truman is not that connected with his wife. They just gave him
Uh
that
huh.
wife. He could even tell like she doesn't really care about him. He doesn't really care that much about her. He's just the marriage
Yeah.
is whatever to him. His one connection
Yeah.
in that world that like is his grounding thing is his friend Marlin.
Was his best friend.
When
Yeah.
they get together at night and have drinks and he has like these conversations. And then when things are going wrong, they send him in with the beer. I like that. I like that little thing. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
Truman's freaking out. Like, send in Marlin, and he's like, hey, I got some brewskis
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
So he would be my favorite character besides Truman.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, Kristoff's character is also really really good.
I enjoyed his character. It's so cynical and just evil, and he really does play a good antagonist.
Mm-hmm. And although like he goes pretty far and he's trying to kill him during that pretty much trying to kill him when he's trying to leave and he's making the weather bad. He's increasing the wind, making it rain. But he mentioned it before that if Truman really truly wanted to leave, he would, and he's not going to completely stop him. And he didn't. When he got to the end and he realized this guy is going to, he would rather capsize and drown than stay in this world. He does allow him to leave,
Yeah.
although he does a lot to try to stop it. Once he's there,
Yeah.
it's not like he
Like
keeps the
his
door
little
shut.
yeah, like his little pity like please don't leave.
The yeah, please don't leave. This world is perfect. Like, there's no more truth out there than there is in here. Like, you're
Yeah.
safe. Nothing's. But obviously, Truman leaves anyway, and
Yeah.
I like that. I like that ending a lot. Um, I think that's how it should end. But I also like
Yeah.
that he he allowed it. You know, He said, okay, you
Uh-huh.
know, he truly, truly wanted to leave, so I'm going to let him leave.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really powerful. The whole movie was really powerful. Although it's funny, it's hard to put a genre on this movie. I would say, if I had to, a psychological comedic thriller comedy. But it's a comedy
Sure.
slash psychological thriller slash drama.
Sure. Slash drama. Yeah, you got to add the drama in it. Well, I think that's all we have for today. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you leave a like, share it to your friends, comment on what you want to see next, hit that subscribe
Hit the
button,
bell,
and
hit the bell. Make sure that you get notified every time we upload. And in case we don't see you, good
good
afternoon,
afternoon,
good
good
evening,
evening,
and good night.
and good night.